Gather round me, children, I'll tell you the news. Don't worry about the names or dates, you already know it's true. The doctor hates your baby, the prime minister's a ghost, and all them folks are sailing here 'cause they're in love with boats. Superfoods can save us from all our evil sin. JFK and Elvis own a bar in Wisconsin. And vaccinations were created by the CIA to steal votes from Bernie Sanders and turn your babies gay. So click the link you think you like and get tooled for a fight against those lefty fascist communists who are leaning too far right.
Right, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Paul.
And we are doing a podcast today to talk about fake news, the way that it's used by governments, media, the way that you see it on social media, what is fake news, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So we're also going to look at propaganda, going to look at alternative news which is possibly true but broken in such a way that explains someone's specific point of view and is a sellable way of putting it out there.
Is alternative news like alternative facts or alternative right? Or like you, I think it was you that said alternative right, is that not left?
Alternative right is in fact left. That's,
alternative facts are, I'm pretty sure, lies.
Lies.
Alternative news must be like olds.
Olds indeed, or lies, or just lies.
Yeah, just lies as well.
Or bits of news that aren't in fact the whole story.
Right, selective
news.
But, you know, you could argue that we're all guilty of being selective in the facts that we choose to present any piece of information.
So here's the issue. Facebook creates this. This is actually something I was wanting to talk to you about. So, because of the way that Facebook now allows you to unfollow your friends. So, me and you have a different opinion, I decide to unfollow you, and I do not see your differing of opinion. So, everyone who is on my newsfeed, in fact, is just some kind of circle jerk, where we're all just patting each other on the back.
The echo chamber effect.
That's exactly it. And it's the scenario where now everyone has their own personalised newsfeed that just says what they believe and nothing else. Everyone agrees with them.
Well, like, I had a friend messaged me on Facebook recently to say, "You've got a lot of right-wing friends." My reply to that was, well, I probably have a lot of right-wing people that I work with.
Not friends.
Yeah,
Associates.
Acquaintances. Like, well, you know, a friend on Facebook is not necessarily some guy that you're going to go down the pub with. But my point to him was, you know, does it not make sense for me to... There's times when I've thought about deleting some of those folk off of Facebook, unfollowing them because their opinion, it just annoyed me or whatever else, but I've always kind of stopped myself from doing it because I thought, well, you know, if I do that, then I'm not seeing these other people's points of view. And to me, it strengthens your belief in something if you see an argument and you're able to counter it in your head, but you have to be able to question what you believe in. And also, you know, there's plenty of times where somebody else might be making a very valid point, and to just close yourself off to any sort of questioning of your ideals is going to just leave you in a big circle jerk where you never advance forward in your quest for knowledge, is what I like to call it, Paul.
Is that what you call it? Yeah. So, that's what it boils down to completely. It's being in the scenario where you get a chance to have information given to you that you're not seeking yourself, and we are all guilty of, you know, so being someone who follows SNP. So for that, then you go in and reading what the SNP say about X, and reading what the SNP say about Labour about X, and see what the SNP say about what the Tories are saying about X. But you never actually go.
They weirdly always should be quite critical of the other parties.
Never just like those boys in Labour. They've got it down. Never been said. But you never go on the Labour website. You never go on the Conservative website. Maybe sometimes for a laugh. if you're feeling down about yourself, you wanted to see what a racist looked like, for example.
I might go on a Labour website, but I can't even think of any scenario, even in my darkest
hour,
moments, that I would be on the Tory party website. We've just lost all the Tory voters from the podcast.
To be honest, judging by the title of the show, the chances that Tories were interested in it seemed incredibly slim.
I've met some nice Tories in my life.
Tory Amos?
Yeah, she was the only one. Lovely woman though. Lovely woman.
I bet she's not. Don't know if that's live.
I bet Kate Bush hates her. That bitch has been ripping me off for years.
We have no evidence to substantiate that claim, so we're clear.
Oh come on, she's just an Inuit Kate Bush, isn't she? I think she's Inuit. I don't know if you're even allowed to say that anymore.
Pretty certain what you just said was
native Canadian, native of the Americas. I think she has Eskimo blood. You're definitely not allowed to say Eskimo.
I mean, I think I've drank Eskimo blood once. It was a cocktail.
Yeah. It was in some hipster bar in Glasgow's West End.
Some bird called Tony was serving it at the bar. So that's kind of what we're going to be aiming towards looking at throughout.
Kate Bush.
Yes, to be honest, I'm glad that we got down to the actual crux of this entire scenario.
We've named this podcast all wrong.
So welcome to We Love Kate Bush, a podcast about not liking Tory Amos, which again is arguably a terrible name for the podcast.
I didn't mind Professional Widow, especially the remix. Just saying.
just throwing it there,
so fake news. What is fake news?
You asking me, or is that like one of those rhetorical questions where you then going to start talking after it?
Well, I think I was asking you because
there's different versions of fake news. There is fake news that is a lie. So first, there's good fake news. There's satirical news. There is stuff that, for some ungodly reason, people still don't see something like The Onion and realise
Daily Mash.
Or Daily Mash, and they read it, and it's just like the Pope's having a baby. No, right, come on. First, it's on the Daily Mash, and secondly, it's quite clearly not true. Then you've got fake news, which is put out outright to perpetuate a lie, perpetuate a negative, usually negative thought towards a particular group or person. In the current climate, it seems to be women, Mexicans, blacks, transgender, Jews, Scottish folk, probably the Irish folk, I would imagine. I mean, I try to read as little of this in the grand scheme of things as possible.
Muslims.
Oh, immigrants, big on immigrants, which, by the way, Trump is a child of.
Scottish one.
A Scottish one, indeed. And his grandfather was a German immigrant, so, he's doing pretty well. So that's fake news. That is quintessentially fake news. News which has no grounding in reality at all.
And so most of us will have encountered this kind of thing on social media. You'll have seen articles shared by friends of friends, something usually which backs up their particular political belief, and they've went, yeah, I totally agree with that, share straight away. And the problem that you have is that you're coming across stuff which actually, when you look into the facts of it, has no basis in reality. It's not true. I can see that, maybe go do a bit of research, find out that it's not true, and then choose not to share it. But unfortunately, the damage is already done, because the other 400 friends that person has seen it already, and a percentage of them will have shared it, and it's been spread like wildfire across the internet.
But then there's two reasons for that fake news. The first reason for the fake news is to besmirch the person's name. Do you know what I mean? To be in some way, shape or form negative towards the people or the group or something similar to that, because that forwards a political opinion or something similar. Mm-hmm. There is also another group of people who put out fake news for what is essentially purely financial gain. They're getting your clickbait garbage that you see on every single social media link, pretty much every single one. 16,000 adverts, a couple of random pop-ups, click here, and one in every 85 slides.
Do you remember these celebrities from the 90s? Let's see what they look like now.
Something that someone from the 90s will remember and someone from 2000 won't remember, like the Rubik's Ball.
If you were a kid that grew up in Glasgow, you'll totally relate to these 10 things.
That are interwoven between like 40 different slides of garbage, so every 5 clicks you're getting what you're looking for, even though you were never looking for that in the first place. It was just
how
there.
much money those people actually make out of that?
Roughly between 10 and 30 million a month.
Just for making clickbait cards?
For a clickbait.
We're in the wrong game.
We are in the wrong game, Gerald. So they actually, there was a guy, I was reading some articles recently about when they were looking at some of the fake news articles, they were all going back to the one server, and a couple of different reporters had went to see him. He didn't want to talk to them originally, and then he came out and had a full conversation. Essentially, him and his wife ran these servers and the websites. They paid student/hack writers to write some amount of garbage for them. They paid them a small amount of money, so their overheads were quite low, and they were doing between 10 and 30 million depending on the month. So they were making...
Just for selling advertising space to people. Shocking, isn't it?
So,
what I like to do is to fuck with them is like, I see a lot of the ones that I'll get on my...
I said 30 million. I have the overwhelming feeling that seems like an awful lot of money. I will check the numbers on that.
They're making, whatever they're making.
Maybe 10,000 to 30,000, which by the way is still like 360,000 quid a year.
Whatever amount of money they're making is entirely undeserved. We can agree on that.
I mean, even if it's
a tenner.
Even if it was only 1,000 and 3,000 a month, they're still making a decent person's salary a year doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty certain it's 10 to 30,000, thinking about the numbers now.
Actually, I didn't even question you when you told me it was...
I'm just saying, if you hit 30 million, that means they're making like 360 million.
Fake news right there for podcast.
There you go, and that's how easy it is.
I like to fuck with the clickbait people. Ones that I see a lot on my Facebook feed are like sports ones, like, you'll never believe what this player has tweeted, like, say, Diego Costa is going to go to China, look at his latest tweet, and or who did Eden Hazard say was the best player he's ever played with, and then it's like ... so you have to click on this thing and go through about 30 slides to find it. What I like to do is go in, do it, get to the last bit, which is the vital piece of information that everybody who's going on there has been looking for, screenshot it and just post it underneath as a comment and go like, yeah, it was fucking Diego Costa, you fucking clickbaiting fucks. Just save everybody the time.
That's brilliant. You're taking them down one clickbait article at a time.
I'll be honest, it is quite labour intensive.
It's an uphill struggle. And also, you're getting all the malware. But so other people don't. You're essentially like a social warrior.
Yeah, and I don't even ask for any money. I'm like Robin Hood of clickbait.
You get yourself malware, you get yourself viruses to give it to the poor. That's not what Robin Hood does.
Well, getting viruses and giving it to the poor is that not what, like...
I am cringing right now at whoever you're going to put as liable with you.
No, just to, I don't know, somebody did it to Africa, I don't know who.
Oh, nice, we'll go with that. CIA.
Anyway, so fake news.
I think that was me also, it would be fake news.
It's definitely completely unsubstantiated, but probably true.
We also then have the other type of fake news, which is news which is tailored news. It's not true for like... So an example, and we'll go into it a bit later, but one of the things that I was looking at was to do with where the Dow Jones had risen to when Trump came into power. That is true, it had risen, but for the last 7 years it had been rising and a steady rate, where it was quite clearly going to break that, and literally it could have been the Cookie Monster who was voted in to be the president, which by the way,
would it be
not against. And yeah, essentially it didn't really matter who was in. Now that news was intrinsically true.
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually the whole story, which shows that, it rose with Bush.
Rose because of Trump being there.
Aye, it didn't rise because of, was it? So when did Obama's first term start?
Oh, there you go. This is 2016, so his would have been 2008.
It's 2017.
Yeah, but 2016 was when the
So
election
2008.
was.
So actually, the last year of Bush, it started rising,
Right.
and then obviously Obama, and now
I
Trump.
remember
So
the last year of Bush.
the beer, the magic.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Bush Gardens.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, in that case, it means that it's been rising for the last 3 presidents, and it's not in fact just because he's went in. There's actually some more to that story, but that's just a good way of
He
telling
just
the
jumped in and
facts.
claimed at the end.
Yeah.
It's like somebody hitting a shot and it's going in anyway, but somebody just sneaking in and just banging it over the line from a yard out and claiming the goal.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's
There's been
like.
a lot of sports analogies. So
Yeah,
far.
we should try and avoid that. But then really, I can hear people logging off as we speak. She's like, I don't get this sports yet. I'm here for hard hitting political action. What you will not get here.
So fake news, right?
You also then have propaganda,
Yeah.
state funded in lots of cases, but any kind of propaganda. But essentially, what we would see as propaganda is state funded, pushing out an agenda in some form or another.
A lot of this will be familiar from it, but history at school, looking at the Nazis, what they were putting out, looking at what the Allied forces were putting out. Yeah. And quite clunky, quite sort of blatant. We look back at it and go, ha ha ha. But probably we're in a situation now that history students in 50, 60 years will be looking at some of the things that have been put out now by state broadcasters, perhaps like the BBC, by folk like Fox News, and they'll be having a little chuckle at themselves, like, oh, how naive we all were to listen to some of this stuff.
If you think about it, one of the problems is what we know people like the BBC and Fox and NBC and all of them do at the present moment is they push agenda for the government, but they've always done that. I mean, the difference is now we have the entire world and the entire collective world's knowledge at our fingertips. Whereas if you think about it, in 1940, if the BBC came on the radio and said Germans are going to be in England tomorrow, there is literally no reason to believe otherwise, because they were the only way that you got information.
Well, we have the entire world's knowledge at our fingertips, but that, is equally a blessing and a curse, because while we have access to, say Harvard's back catalogue of journalistic articles, not journals, academic articles, studies, we can look at encyclopedias and everything else. We can look at verified factual information which comes from a credible source, which has references, etc. We also can listen to what Gary thinks, little Gary in his mad shed with his mad theories about how, Jews
done something bad at some point.
Yeah, and how the Holocaust didn't really happen, and mental stuff like that. So
mad stuff.
Which again, is an issue which relates to the fake news thing, because what my advice would be is, before you share that little interesting meme that you saw about how maybe
Donald Trump done something particularly nice, and
or maybe Clinton,
didn't have sexual relations in the Oval Office.
Yeah, or the emails or something about Snowden or whatever. Check, have a little look. There's a lot of really good websites that will do the work for you.
You say check your sources, Jared.
Check your sources. Sell by dates and stuff like that.
Check your sources.
Nobody likes fusty tomato ketchup.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah, always check your sources. Always check your sources. As a journalist, it's something you have to do. This is another thing that you have a problem with nowadays, is that
I have a problem.
Well, we all have a problem with it because we're all being misinformed in various different ways, but you can get away with publishing pretty much anything on the internet. It's difficult to do much more difficult to do somebody for libel for printing something on the internet, publishing something on the internet, than it is for printing something in a newspaper, which is why you'll actually find articles being published by sources like, even in the UK, the Daily Express, the Daily Mail. They will have different articles on their online paper than they do that would never find their way into the newspaper because they wouldn't get away with them. I saw one today which was talking about the Trump's immigration kind of blanket ban from these, I think it's 7 Muslim, mainly Muslim countries, not entirely Muslim, but yeah, like Syria, Iraq, etc. And they had printed a story about how Obama had done the same thing 5 years earlier, and he basically said word for word that he had banned all Iraqis from entering the country after the Bowling Green, Kentucky, these 2 guys who managed to slip through the net. Now, it was only printed online. They didn't print it in the newspaper, and they wouldn't have got away with printing it in the newspaper because, as you were talking about earlier, it was selective information, and some of it just wasn't true. So yeah, while it is great that we have the internet there to feed us all information, to allow us to have access to a wealth of information, we need to be really careful about what we're reading. My advice, if you're reading any news article, read the same news article about the same situation from a variety of sources. You know, if you're reading about Trump's ban, read it from an extremely right-wing source if you can get one. Read it from I know you will. But like a sort of reasonably credible, like read it on Fox News, see what they have to say about it. They're going to be selective about the information that they give you. Read it on The Guardian. They're going to be quite left-wing. They're going to be selective about the information they give you. Read it on The Independent, read it in the New York Times, read it on CNN, read it on a whole bunch of things, and somewhere in between all of that, you will find probably the truth of what's happening.
That'd be RT News. What would be really interesting is to take like a 21-year-old in China, for example, and composure, and
just to take them,
just steal them.
I thought you meant
and compare how they perceive the world, which is obviously they've got a lot more state-controlled internet than we do, to someone who is of the same age, even of the same ethnic origin, and have the same, in theory, values regarding their religion and everything else.
Yeah. And
you take them from the UK or from America and compared how they viewed the world based on that, because obviously they don't have the world at their fingertips. They've got the state-sponsored world at their fingertips. That means they're not getting quite the same information as everyone else. And it'd be interesting just to see the difference between what we're going to have shortly, which is going to be heavily monitored and controlled internet, but because that's where we're rolling towards.
Yeah. Fear-based control.
Fear-based control, exactly. I think for the most part that covers what fake news is.
And also other things, Tori Amos, sports analogies, clickbait.
Stealing Chinese people. So we've just announced, so that's pretty much the next 3 shows dealt with. Looking forward to number 3. So we're going to take a quick break for 2 seconds here, and we will be right back. And we're back. We're back.
So I think the first thing we want to do is clear up a little bit of fake news
yes,
that we gave you.
So regarding the story that I was talking about, essentially there was a journalist...
Which story?
The story to do with the 30 million, 10 million, the money...
The clickbaiting fucks.
The clickbait guys. So, a bit of background on them. The story that they had published that got a lot of traffic was about an FBI agent who was suspected in Hillary's email leaks in some kind of murder-suicide. And as it turns out, that was completely fake. The main issue, one of the problems that you get with fake news is especially where it comes from. So in this case, it came from a website that is the denverguardian.com. Right,
okay. So this is something that we should have probably spoke about when we were talking about fake news, whereby there's been a lot of, especially in the run-up to the Clinton-Trump election, there was a lot of articles, in inverted commas, being shared from, newsworthy sources like the Denver Guardian or the Baltimore Chronicle or the Louisiana Herald. I'm sorry if those are actually real newspapers. But essentially, there are obviously newspapers in Baltimore, Louisiana, in Denver. The Guardian is one that doesn't exist now, has never existed, or last existed like 40 years ago.
So when I was looking into it, actually now it doesn't exist. Oddly enough, the website isn't there anymore, but when it was there live, it was showing local weather. I mean, it was, if you were to look at it, an actual news website. It had articles, it had weather, it had, I imagine random sports garbage. I didn't really check there, but it had that type of information on it. Which
That's
makes it
a
website.
serious amount of effort to go to propagate a falsehood. It's almost too much effort and too much money involved for it to be somebody just doing it off their own back. Is that fair to say?
Well, yes and no, because as I said, the money in it. So the actual figures that they were making monthly off of their plethora of websites on their one server was between 10,000 and 30,000 US dollars a month.
Not 10, 30 million then?
Not 10 million and 30 million, which, thinking about it was a lot of money. But still,
10,000, 30,000 though, I still think we're in the wrong game.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're at the top end of that, you're making $360,000 a year to make up a couple of fake news websites, whack some weather on it. To be honest, I would go to Denver and find actual stories for that kind of money. I could set up a newspaper for that kind of money a month, so I could probably just have a real website for news for that.
Real news.
Yeah, real news. And probably make nowhere near that amount of money is the problem.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I can tell you that, print journalism is dead and they're all struggling to make money.
So the man in question, which for liable, I don't know if we can say his name. I mean, it's in the article that we're reading. But
let's just say we can.
This dude was head of engineering by day, and by night churning over 10 to 30 grand a month on his fake news websites.
Head of engineering pays quite well on its own as well.
He probably had to, I would imagine,
motherfuckers doubled in.
fiddle his taxes a fair bit to that may be claiming now that the man was committing some kind of tax fraud, and I'm not going to do that.
I bet the place that he was head of engineering that didn't know he was moonlighting as a clickbaiting fuck.
I bet they didn't. I bet they were coming into work and they were just like, did you see the FBI guy was just missing? He's like,
that's how he started off. Just hanging about in the water cooler, telling folk absolute shite. Just like, God, people believe anything. I need to monetize this.
So, essentially, it was just a standard WordPress template type platform that it was using. So, if you can imagine how easy it would be once you've got that down, and then all you're doing is changing the colours, probably getting some kind of Google feed in for the weather and stuff like that. It would probably be really easy to reproduce it once you've done it once.
It's kind of cookie cutter.
Like the Toronto Times, or or whatever. And all you're doing is changing the name, changing the colour to the relevant. Once again, if the Toronto Times is real, I'm not suggesting it's a fake news website. But yeah, so that's essentially how he operated. Him and his wife, they had about 20 or 25 writers that they paid for booking, which we'll call alternative news, which I believe was just lies. And at this point, I can also say that I can't guarantee everything that they were writing was lies.
Yeah,
but
there may have been some truth.
There may well have been.
Evidence would suggest otherwise.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like they had a lot of journalistic integrity from where I'm standing.
So he got into fake news around about 2013 to highlight the extremism of white nationalists alt-right. That was the whole reason that he started up. He wanted to, according to him, in the interview, he wanted to show there was extreme white alt-right nationalist garbage getting put out there and how easy it was to do, and essentially he kind of sells it as like a social experiment almost, where he was going to just show that any news could be put out by anyone if you wanted to. Then he thought, I'm getting on this movie train.
Yeah. Like, wow, this social experiment's about to be really rich.
Oh my God, I love this social experiment. I'm going to keep experimenting socially. He tried to then move it to write fake news for liberals.
I think McDonald's started the same.
But they didn't.
They were like, I I can't believe people are actually eating this shit. We're making loads of money. Let's just keep going. I definitely can't say that. Definitely can't say that.
I wish my face was on camera there. No. That's not how they started it at all. That's actually for a different day. I will tell you that. I'll tell you about that another day. But yeah, so as it turns out, they tried to do it for Liberal news, and they wouldn't take the bait in the same way that right-wing media news would be taken now. That's what he says. He says he tried to point it towards, what would be pigeonholed as more open-minded thinking, more accepting people, which we can see now isn't really the case. I mean, like,
but basically he was trying to fish hook in the same way.
It was right. Now remember, at the time, this is 2013.
But so, I guess by producing articles that kind of verified their viewpoint.
Yeah, which I imagine was the case. I mean, he doesn't really go into it, but essentially, I would presume that he was probably being quite negative towards the right and quite positive towards the left, and kind of fake stories.
But it wasn't true.
But it wasn't true.
And
it was fake news. He
wasn't pulling the same numbers.
He wasn't pulling anywhere near the same numbers, but there is an argument there at the time when he was doing that. The president was Liberal and the country was, it was they were in a different place in America certainly at the time than they are right now. So it's going to be harder for them to, you had a pissed off right wing at the time because of a lot of things. There was lots of people who weren't particularly fond of not having a Republican president in anyway, and not having a black president, and these were things. So it's much easier. I'm pretty certain at the time the current president at the moment was pushing for the whole passport thing.
So it'd be an interesting social experiment then to flip it round and do it now.
Yeah,
and that could be our justification for making ourselves filthy fucking rich.
See, to be honest, if I can make $360,000 a year for this social experiment just to prove a point, then I'm willing to take that bullet.
Right. So we'll start up like a PayPal account if you guys want to get on board with that.
If you guys would like to fund us, we maybe try in a couple of weeks' time to have like a Patreon.
You have a social experiment, and you'll get a percentage. You'll get a percentage.
A small percentage, but a percentage nonetheless. And pretty much all he says is that he just printed stories that he believed people wanted to hear, like absolutely not substantiated in any way, shape or form, and he made really good money. He even stated, I made really good money, regardless of whether or not
so
it was
at
true.
At that point, did he just decide to keep doing it?
That's exactly what he done.
That's mental. That's absolutely mental.
That's exactly what he done. And he actually is on record as saying that he has no regrets for his fake news empire. And he doesn't think fake news has swayed the election.
And is he still doing it now?
Well, I've checked his websites and they're all down, so I'm saying no. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have other websites.
Yeah, he just started up other ones.
He probably would have had to start up another server, because I imagine, and I can't guarantee this, but I imagine he was on some kind of watch list at this point or something. Do you know what I mean? Certainly from a point of view of a media outlet, you know what I mean? If the media outlets servers were
at the point that you're disseminating fake information that is not government approved, that's like, is that terrorism?
Well,
if you're pulling in the kind of numbers that means you're getting £30,000 of income a month, then
week, but yeah.
Was it week or month? Month, right.
Wasn't it week? We can't be doing it. That'd be me. It's easy.
Then you're getting a reasonable amount of traffic. Like you're talking in the millions, I guess, because you're going to be getting like fractions of pence, aren't you, for every person that has a look at an advert or something?
I would imagine. I mean, I would imagine that
10 cents or something.
0.01 cents fair.
So you must be pulling in millions of people potentially looking at this stuff. You know, whether there's only a certain percentage of people are going to read it and believe it, but if you're presenting it as a believable source from a newspaper, there's weather feeds there's stuff that makes it.
Remember, it is multiple
genuine
locations as well. It's not just the one site by any man. I mean, so yes, you're pulling in those type of numbers, but I just want to make it clear that he wasn't pulling in 10 million people reading this one story about the FBI thing. You know what I mean? It's lots of garbage all over the place.
It's just at that point you're actually interfering with an election campaign. That's quite kind of dodgy ground. Maybe we shouldn't do this at all.
Well, to be honest, Google, supposedly according to him, are cracking down on it, and he's been getting a lot of emails regarding it. And he actually says at the end of the article how he's been talking over with his wife about maybe getting out of the whole fake news game, which was convenient that was the same time that the news reports had found where he lived and who he was.
Weirdly, you guys have just done that, because I was just saying this morning, we should probably stop doing this.
Betty, me and you have to get this fake news game, and you chapped at the door, and I was like, let's see who's at the door.
I was lighting my cigar with a wad of like $10 bills on fire, and I was thinking to myself, I don't know how much longer I want to go on like this.
I Scrooge McDuck into my pile of money, and I was like, this is causing me serious back pain and shoulder injuries. I'm going to have to get out of this because it's just not practical. I'm going to have to build a second silo for my coins.
And Scrooge McDuck used to spit out all those coins as well as Lucky didn't choke.
Yes, Lucky didn't choke. He's a duck though.
Oh, so yeah.
He was keeping it in his bills.
Bills! I like it. Very good.
So yeah, but he says that he believes that it's just going to get harder from now on to be able to tell fake news websites from other websites, which kind of sounds like a something that a man would say if he was planning on not getting out of the game, but being better at making fake news websites.
Yeah, I would like to, while he stroked his beard, what was his name again? Fuck it, what was his name?
Mr. Jensen, John Jensen.
While he was stroking his beard, Mr. Jensen remarked that I have a feeling that fake news outlets might be becoming more difficult to identify in future.
It's not, his name is Justin Collar is his name.
Sounds like a
COLER. Sounds like a fake name. I would also
fake news supplier.
I would also like to say that they do mention that his home has an underwater lawn, a black minivan in the driveway, and a large prominent American flag. Or things that.
So it doesn't sound like somebody who was just doing it to point out that alt-right were silly.
No, and he did register one of the web domains under the handle Let Texas Succeed, even though he was also living in California, not in Texas. But he just felt that way. That was his political view.
Where's this article?
I'd rather not advertise other websites.
Okay, but basically, is it?
It's a tech.
What we'll do is we'll have some.
We'll have the links and stuff like that at the end. But it's a tech news site, and it's
so you guys will be able to go and have a look at this stuff yourself.
I mean, this was the reason that they were doing it was based on finding out where the websites were come from and finding out, how it was going about doing it from a tech point of view. And just so happens they found a man that was, 30 grand deep, wading through bills to get to his door, curling his large curled baddie moustache.
And laughing evilly at the thought of more subversive fake news.
Drinking some of that sweet Eskimo blood that was still going on because he had the dollar.
That's it, professional widow.
Yeah, absolutely. Get that away myself. So that's the background on the story that I was talking about earlier. I would like to stress he wasn't making $360 million a year, but $360,000 is pretty good considering that he had a job.
I was just his top of income.
Yes. And if I'd overheads off that, a server, so maybe about £100. And 25 writers. So even if it's 2,500,
so £200 a month.
No, even if it's 2,500, even if it's giving them each $100 for their articles, it was just about getting there. I mean, in a bad month, he was making $7,500.
Right. So you can't accuse us of not giving you the skinny on that one. We've sorted that out. I'm still annoyed at myself for when you said 10 to 30 million, just going,
seems decent. Seems like a decent turnover. Why do I not know about this one?
Right, so the next thing that I was going to talk about was a woman called Kellyanne Conway, who's...
Can I also just quickly say that if it was 10 to 30 million and he's been doing it since 2013, it would probably be the Forbes rich list by now.
Yeah.
You would know who he was.
He might have been part of the Trump administration. Kellyanne Conway, she is a presidential advisor, along there with the guy Sean Bannon. Stephen Bannon, yeah, sorry,
yeah.
and Dina Powell, sorry. Yeah, she is an advisor to Donald Trump, counsel to the president. Assumed office January 20th. I think beforehand she was working on his campaign. She got in a bit of bother recently for justifying Trump's travel ban on the grounds of what she called the Bowling Green massacre in Kentucky. So, two Iraqis that she said perpetrated the Bowling Green massacre, and she basically intimated that this was why Obama had initiated his, as she put it, travel ban on Iraqis a few years ago, and yeah, she was justifying it in those terms. These two Iraqis, carried out this Bowling Green massacre in Kentucky.
That's Bowling Green, a place in Kentucky.
Yeah,
Not a Bowling
just
Green
a Bowling
massacre,
Green.
not like old people
Just
playing bowls.
fuck you guys. You're playing a shit sport, you deserve to die. Yeah, Al Akbar. We the Islamists rile against
lawn bowls.
Lawn bowls. It's against Allah. It's against God. Anyway, so she got called out for citing this Bowling Green massacre, but she basically talked about the innocent soldiers who had been killed in the Bowling Green massacre. And there was no Bowling Green massacre, basically, is what it turned out. Journalists did their work, had a look into this, what the fuck is she talking about, challenged her on it, and she then made a statement saying that she misspoke. She meant to say the Bowling Green terrorists. Because the truth of the matter is that Obama's more stringent restrictions on Iraqi travel to the US, which did happen during his administration, came as a result of these two guys in Kentucky who they found had links to Al Qaeda, had been sending money and trying to send weapons back to Iraq to support Al Qaeda, and they had actually found one of the guys' fingerprints on an IED which had blown up American soldiers in Iraq. As a result of this, these guys slipped through the net. Obama then issued an order that all Iraqi immigrants to the US should have their paperwork gone over again to make sure that no one else has slipped through the net that had ties to Al Qaeda, and also made the checks on future Iraqis coming in more stringent. Wasn't a travel ban.
But this was the same article that we currently see in the paper as cited as having been signed by President Obama, that has currently been signed by President Trump, is that?
Yes, but that's what some people have said. If you actually look at the facts, that's not necessarily the case, but we'll get on that later.
Okay.
Right, so that's the reality of what happened. Also, I have to say that Obama didn't bring in a travel ban on Iraqis. There were still thousands of Iraqis coming in. He just made the checks more stringent. It slowed down the process significantly because they wanted to make sure that nobody else got in, which seems to me to be fair enough. Anyway, Kellyanne Conway's defence was that she misspoke one word. She meant to say the Bowling Green terrorists.
It's an extreme one word, to be honest.
Massacre, terrorists, you know, yada, yada, yada. But, you know, I suppose if she, in one interview, says massacres as a terrorist, you could maybe argue, okay, she said the wrong word, she didn't mean what she said. However, the same journalist that pointed out that there was no Bowling Green massacre also found that she actually cited the same non-existent attack a couple of times previously in an interview with Cosmopolitan magazine and with TMZ.
So, can I play devil's advocate here and say, hypothetically, right, what if, I'm now giving her an out that she's going to listen to this because this will be the first thing that she goes to. So see fake news and think, that's
right on my street.
that's me sorted for the next year. So I hope that doesn't happen. But could she not suggest that she was meaning that the terrorists on the Bowling Green had built the IED or had been involved in the IED which had killed soldiers in Iraq, and what she was talking about was a kind of mash-up of both pieces of information where the terrorists were on the Bowling Green, but they also were involved in...
They're on the Bowling Green building IEDs
building
sending them
IEDs
back to Iraq.
but were involved in the massacre of troops over in Iraq. Is that not going to be her out? I mean, that's not that would be if I had told that lie, that's exactly the next sentence I would say.
First of all, I think the IED that the fingerprints were found on actually went off in 2005, so it was way before these people, because Barack Obama stopped or halted and slowed down immigrants coming out of Iraq in 2011. This thing had happened in 2005, so it was way before these guys that came into the country. It was when they were still living in Iraq that it happened. The exact words in Cosmo that she used were, he did that because 2 Iraqi nationals came to this country, joined ISIS, travelled back to the Middle East to get trained and refine their terrorism skills and come back here, and were the masterminds behind the Bowling Green massacre of taking innocent soldiers' lives away.
Well, I don't know. See, if you say it like that, then it's reasonable to say that she wasn't mixing up two events. And in fact, most of that was all just made up.
On TMZ on the same day, she said that he did that because I assume, this is her talking about Obama, why he did what he did. He did that because I assume there were 2 Iraqis who came here, got radicalised, joined ISIS, and then were the masterminds behind the Bowling Green attack on our brave soldiers.
So does she mean she assumed that's why he done it? Or she done it because she assumed that's what happened? based on literally no information.
Yeah, with no information.
I assumed there was some kind of terrorist.
Just you know, as a bit of, you know, information as to what actually happened, the FBI said that the 2 men admitted using improvised explosive devices against US soldiers in Iraq and attempted to send weapons and money to Al-Qaeda in Iraq for the purpose of killing US soldiers. The FBI did not say that the 2 men travelled back to the Middle East at any point, and that there was no attack on US soil. So other than that, she got it spot on.
So it's reasonable to say here, so that the whole point is telling this, because first, I would really like to point out that I am not a Trump supporter, as you probably guessed, but I'm also not a Hillary supporter by any manner. I mean, she's not...
No, neither the fuck am I.
Yeah, I mean, so like, it's not like I am here just like bad-mouthing the Trump presidency because I believe Hillary should be in the seat because I think she's a horrible crooked bastard as well.
I think the main reason we're talking about Trump right now is because he's the guy that's president at the minute.
He is the president of the United States of America.
There's been a lot of information disseminated. Like he seems to be riding a wave of fake news.
If I walked into a local supermarket right now and spat on one of the newspapers, the story would be about Trump.
Yeah.
I'd be asked to leave the supermarket for spitting on the newspapers.
Kellyanne Conway as well, it's worth noting, is the woman responsible for coming up with the term alternative facts.
Which are lies.
Yeah, she is a counsellor to Trump. She's part of his administration. You could, I suppose, suggest that she's maybe just stupid and didn't know what she was talking about. However, you know, we're getting a lot of this from Trump, just saying things which he knows not to be true and have been proven not to be true. But once that information's out there in the public sphere, people can read it, reread it, they can watch it being said. The vast majority of people aren't going to go away and fact check that to see whether it's true. They see it on the news, they see Kellyanne Conway or Mr. Trump or whoever else saying something and they take it at face value, especially I think the older generation.
I think the other thing you always have to take into account is no matter how much you believe any of these people, anyone that is in politics is an idiot, they're generally not. I mean, They might say things out of turn, they might not think of the implications of their actions when they're doing certain things, but they're never stupid. These things are usually said to be impactful, they're usually calculated, and it's usually been ran by at least 1 or 2 other people. I mean, generally speaking, for all the fact that Trump's tweeted this, Trump didn't tweet that. Like, Trump isn't sitting with his old scabby BlackBerry that he still wants to use, or whatever it is that he still wants to use. His Android phone that they've already complained about because it's a security risk. And
I don't know that he's not in charge of his Twitter.
In the Oval Office tweeting.
No, genuinely, like, because he tweets at like 2 in the morning and shit.
I know, but remember, you can schedule tweets. You can
Well,
schedule posts.
but why would you schedule it to make you look like a fucking maniac?
Well, because
like, there was a great quote.
Play hardball.
I can't remember who it was that said it. It was a journalist. It was a UK journalist, I think. So apologies. Somebody will be able to tell us who said this. But
if you're listening and it was you, write in.
But the words were there are only two types of people on Twitter at 2 o'clock in the morning: alcoholics and sociopaths, and Donald Trump's a teetotaler.
Right, I know, and I do get that, right? But what I do believe is that he is the President of the United States of America.
I believe that too.
And
I'm
because
pretty
of
sure
that,
that wasn't fake news.
No, we don't know. We can live in hope. But I just don't believe that. Well, certainly not every single tweet that is coming out of the Donald Trump account now is coming from Donald Trump. I don't believe that.
Not
because
now.
there has to be a social media team, and it might be stuff that he wanted to say, and it's scheduled to go out at specific times.
But do you imagine, like, he has like herders, like he's been shepherded around the place, and like, stop him from sending tweets. Keep him in the pen. Like, you know.
Probably.
Well,
absolutely. Like, there must be someone in the White House. Think about it. Beyond beyond your Bannons and beyond the women you were just talking about.
Kellyanne Conway.
That's the one, Kellyanne Clarkson. And because Colin Powell's daughter, what's her name?
Tina Powell.
She's not Colin Powell's daughter.
Interestingly, she was born in Cairo, Egypt. One of the Muslim countries which does produce terrorists that come to the US, but which doesn't have a travel ban. We'll talk about that later.
We'll come to that. But yeah, so there must be someone in the White House who wakes up every morning, so my background is in IT, and I worked with a guy who worked in security for the company, and every day he woke up and looked through the newspapers to hope there was nothing about the company in the newspapers because it was then his fault. Some poor bastard in the White House is that guy. They wake up in the morning and they look at the paper and they're just like, what the fuck? I have to deal with this for the entire day. You know what I mean? Like there's a media team, and of that media team, there's some poor bastard that's in charge of fixing the fallout every day.
But there's part of me, and this is a bit of a conspiracy head on here, that thinks that all of this is kind of a bit of misdirection inside.
Orchestrated?
No, well, orchestrated, yeah, orchestrated. I believe that they are trying to cause as much controversy and argument and information. All of this stuff's going on over here, you know, on the right hand side. Pay attention to all of this crazy fucking shit. This is where the story is. Read about this, tell a lie, then the journalists will spend all their time proving that it was a lie, and they're not focusing on actually what's going over here on the left, which is the real stuff, which is, you know, whatever deals are going on behind the scenes, whatever fucking mad crazy shit that they're doing to make money.
Well, that brings me perfectly on to Stevie Bannon, because in Vanity Fair, again, we'll put the article up, he stated that Donald Trump is a blunt instrument for their means. They can use him as a blunt instrument. This was only last year that he stated it, and he doesn't even believe that Donald Trump fully understands what it is that they're working towards or what they're moving towards. And he, oddly enough, didn't state, you know, a complete racist segregation of the whole of the United States of America.
So that's Sean Bannon.
Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon. I keep calling him Sean Bannon. That's Steve Bannon, who is also
who is the head of strategy for the Donald Trump administration and is on the Security Council in the United States. That man, the man who's on the Security Council, said that about the president, that he was doing the strategy for while he was running. He was able to get the same man into the presidency with his strategy that he was openly saying he was a blunt instrument. So a bit of background on Mr. Bannon, because you have to understand where he comes from. He was part of the Breitbart News conglomerate that exists, which is essentially where alt-right comes from. I mean, your Milo and the likes are all kind of affiliated with that side of things. Milo, the guy who causes all the alt-right problems.
Not the Scottish DJ.
Not the Scottish DJ.
Guy, that producer.
But
the one Richard.
That's the one. Not him.
Glutton.
Yeah. He's all disco, but not all right. Well, not all right. He is all right, but he's not alt right. So he comes from that background. I mean, and they are notoriously right leaning. Now there's lots of times.
What fucking happened to Milo though?
He actually joined the alt-right movement with America.
That's what I'm thinking, because you never hear from him anymore.
Yeah, he very rarely phones me these days.
Sorry, I took you off.
You've totally thrown me off. So essentially that's his background. He comes from an alt-right kind of news, alternative news background, and that is now what he's kind of pushing. As I said, he's on the Security Council, a position that is generally held by people who, have a general fucking understanding of what it is. No, I will bring that back. He was a naval officer. He was a naval officer in like the fucking 80s or some shit, so obviously he completely understands the current geopolitical scenario across the entire world.
No wars.
Back days when, they were literally fucking parked up in the water firing cruise missiles or whatever the fuck they wanted, because they were the only people on Earth that had working cruise missiles. But, they
weren't at war with anybody in the 80s, were they?
They were just taking oil.
We went and got, had a wee skirmish over the Falkland Islands.
Had an argument with some Argentinians, but that's for a different day. There's probably a fake news story or two that we can pull from that without any doubt. But so essentially that's where he comes from. So he is a naval officer.
Yeah, not totally unqualified then.
But still arguably, from his background, from his amount of time that he's not been in the Navy, for the fact that he's a known right-wing fanatic, and
a lot of people in the military are.
Probably, but we can't in any way, shape or form extantiate that claim with any proof.
Oh no.
So what we'll do is I'll certainly retract that, because we can't prove that, but certainly he is. And what the problem is he is now essentially there's things that have came from like Breitbart News, stuff to do with like they were known for printing things like black crimes and stuff like that. Now if you look at the policies that Trump's brought in, where he's printing immigrant crimes, they are very, very, very similar. I mean they're not the same, but they produce the same issue. Now the key problem in that is it's immigrants. It's not even illegal immigrants. Like, you could see a justification, although really loose, but you could see a justification for times to show there is an illegal immigrant problem.
So, to clarify, the Trump administration have said that they're going to publish a list of crimes perpetrated every week by immigrants to the US. Yeah. And Breitbart has previously done the same thing with black
crimes.
People.
Yeah, black crimes, yeah.
Wow.
No, wow, indeed.
Like, that's full on.
That's quite
almost sounds like something that the Third Reich might have done.
That's almost like it was like a Fourth Reich.
A little bit Hitlery. It's a little bit Hitlery.
Well, see, the danger is.
In fact, I'm almost 100% sure that that's something that they did do in Nazi Germany. They used to put. I've seen this in newspapers at the time, like in Bild or whatever the big German newspaper was. They had pictures of Jewish criminals who had perpetrated crimes. They used to put it in the newspaper.
Because it puts it in the front of your face that the crimes are being committed by. Now, they've totally overlooked the fact that it's a tiny percentage of the population and there's like loads of white guys committing loads of crimes all the time.
Yeah.
But we're overlooking that and we're saying the immigrants are committing these crimes. And I will almost guarantee you, although again this is completely based on nothing at the present moment, but I almost guarantee you that the crimes that will be put there will not be stealing crisps out of 7-Eleven. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be rapes, it's going to be high value thefts, it's going to be murders, it's going to be things that say bad people.
Yeah.
The danger is also that there's currently...
So I can get on board with stealing crisps.
Ah man, all the time. And for American listeners, that's chips, if you want to know what Jerry would steal.
I would also steal chips though.
Which fries?
Yeah.
Just like any potato based stuff, to be honest. But yeah, so
I'm of Irish descent.
we can't help ourselves. So yeah, so that creates a problem. I mean, it creates an issue where you could perpetrate racism across the entire of America, and it's totally justified because the government are doing it. The other scary thing
but
is...
it's justifying your policies as well. It's easy to justify a travel ban when you're showing, well, look at all these immigrants perpetrating all these crimes.
Absolutely. Well, one of the other problems is...
I wonder how selective they'll be with their list though. Will that include immigrants from Saudi Arabia, the UAE?
One would imagine
Egypt?
not. There's a high probability if you were to look at, say, I don't know, places that President Trump had business assets in, you're probably not going to find those people on the list. Because
be more interested in like Mexican.
But they'll all be behind the wall by that point, so that will not be an issue. An interesting fact, just off subject on this, is the largest Mexican is Pablo. Lost him. Pablo, he's 8'6". That's fake because the largest concrete company in the United States of America is a Mexican company. So in the fact that they're going to get, firstly, they claim that Mexico is going to build the wall. In building the wall, they're going to act, but more importantly, if Mexico pays for the wall to be built, Mexico will be paying a Mexican company to pour the concrete onto the wall, which would then mean, logically, the money is going to make its way back to Mexico. Or if they don't pay for the wall, the American government are going to pay
a Mexican company.
Are going to pay a Mexican company to build the wall, and then they're going to increase the tariff on Mexican products, which then means that the products will cost more to the American people as well, which then means the American people will have paid the tax money to build the wall and then also pay more money for their tasty Mexican snacks. That I'm sure there's other things that come to Mexico as well, but if you see Mexico,
drugs,
I imagine...
for example.
drugs and guns. And with the drugs and guns. And burritos. Totally off subject there, but it's just a weird fact that the largest company...
I'm sure I heard somebody from Trump's administration the other day saying that, large parts of the wall may be fence.
That would be a fence then. That was an alternative wall.
Yeah, exactly.
We are 2017. You better not be assuming the wall, Jerry, because that would trigger me. I'm not going to lie. Triggered indeed. So back to Mr. Bannon. He's going to also be doing stuff like there's a centralised government body being created for
state-run propaganda.
I was going to try and talk around it in some kind of nice way. Some kind of like Ministry of Propaganda, Ministry of Facts, like maybe happened in Germany circa 1938.
So he's like the Goebbels of Trump's administration.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is currently, or certainly that's what he is trying to become, as it seems anyway. He has a background in media, he's controlled all the facts that are going out, he has a slight military kind of background, and he's going to control all the proper facts that are going in and out of the country from the government. There's another thing that the government, if you're a government scientist or a member of government staff, you're now not allowed to post information to do with what you're doing on social media or go to the press without permission from the leader of your team, who has to essentially seek permission.
Were you allowed to do that before?
Oh, clearly, because you now can't.
That's fucking mental. If you're a government scientist, so you're yes! Check him out. What are we doing today? This is brilliant. Look at this bomb I've been building.
I imagine when I say government scientist, I don't mean the boys at Los Alamos. I'm guessing it's probably something more along the lines of, if you were working in agriculture, if you were an agriculture scientist and you were looking at, say, the decline of the bee population in the United States of America, before you could maybe talk to the press or you could be interviewed without asking permission from your boss to talk about that because that's your specialised field, you now can't.
Government has to say it's alright. Bannon.
Yeah, it has to go to your boss first. But I believe your boss in the long term is going to have to seek advice from some kind of Ministry of Truth or or something to that effect, which is actually going to be where they run the PRISM.
The prison.
Oh, the stuff that Snowden worked on. That's where they're going to operate that from. Some big building. I'm going to take a fucking guess. Prism is what Snowden worked on. That's the stealing all your information.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably talk up a better way than that, but it's fundamentally that.
Looking at everybody's
Everything.
private information.
Looking at everybody's privates all the time on
The
their
thing
cameras.
that cracked me up about Snowden, like coming out and telling everybody all that, there was like, you'll never guess what, the government are like reading all your like texts and your tweets and all your social media stuff, like all your private stuff, they're looking at that. And everybody was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing that. And I was like, well, I can.
I've always presumed
I
it.
just assumed that that's what they were doing anyway.
That's why sometimes I just email myself pictures of my own dick. So it means that I know that, somebody's looking at it.
And then I get all hard.
Fucking exciting shit there. That's, so I'm getting good. But Snowden wasted that for me. Because now everybody's doing it.
Your dick.
And there's not just fucking dicks everywhere. They're all fucking seeing it. So that upset me greatly. So I can only imagine that Barron's new building is going to be in the shape of a fucking skull in the middle of a volcano, judging by his current track record. Yeah. Skull Volcano, Ohio, maybe.
That's his address.
That's
the people who work there will have a little skull badge they have to wear, and they'll be looking at themselves going, "Do you think maybe we're the bad guys?"
Do you think they'll be like all like spatial scientists or some other SS type type naming convention, for some kind of stormtroopers or something like that. Anyway, we're kind of digressing here. But to give you an idea of what the problem is with something like the Breitbart Post, I'm reading an article right now in front of me, and it talks about Trump's $2 trillion bombshell stuns US economy, America is rich again. So we're clear to our American listeners,
you're not.
That's a lie.
You're not rich again.
First and foremost,
you'll never be rich again.
no, that would be the Chinese. First and foremost, the article starts off and it talks about Toyota. Toyota are going to invest $10 billion in the US economy, and American workers are celebrating. So essentially, the background story on that is that they were going to be
Toyota, famous American company.
Toyota, the classic American family, Bill Toyota. It's just weeks of the American dream. The actual story comes from the back of the fact that Mexico are getting a massive investment from Toyota to build like some big factory to be building like cars, one would presume, but Toyota-based things. And one of the issues was that the American sites weren't getting any investment. Since Trump has
because labour's cheaper in Mexico.
Because labour's cheaper in Mexico. Now Trump's
unless you're getting them to build it in a prison in America, but that's
again for another podcast, I would imagine, but we could probably segue into somewhere. But anyway, so essentially they're putting in $10 billion onto their 5 sites or something similar to that in the United States. If you actually follow the story and you check what Toyota have said rather than what this trashy news article is talking about, you discover that Toyota have said that they're going to invest the money on the sites. They've said they can't guarantee it's going to create any more jobs on those sites. Said that they spent 5 years developing and coming up with a plan to build a new site in Mexico. That's still going ahead, and they're just going to kind of retrofit some new gear and the likes into the sites and kind of spruce them up a bit. But they've said
in America,
but they've said that they're not building the one in Mexico, and there's no guarantee that it will create new jobs with the investment they're putting in to the Toyota site. So
the $2 trillion that they're talking about is actually for all of that. It's for what they're doing in Mexico and a little bit of stuff that they're doing in America altogether.
No, I think for the most part the $2 trillion is a number that pulled out their arse. So actually,
so they could just say whatever they want.
It's almost like I don't know, propaganda or fake news. Additionally, according to a Fox News insider, one economist says the stock market has gained $2 trillion in wealth since Donald Trump's election. Now, I then had a quick look at the stock market.
And how does the stock market gain $2 trillion in wealth? How does that even work?
Because there was exactly $2 trillion in President Trump's shoe that he put into the stock market when he became president.
Into the stock market?
Just showed up, made a deposit.
Through that wee hole that there is.
You know the stock hole?
Yeah.
That's when you stick it. And I believe me, he is going to stick it to that stock hole. So actually that's regarding, I believe, the Dow Jones rise of 20,000 points. The Dow Jones rise of 20,000 points that fell.
To go above 20,000 points.
To go above 20,000. It was the first time it never went above 20,000. Now, on the face of it, that piece of information, which, as Breitbart noted, is true, and knows that name is going to come up a lot over the next 4 years, one would imagine. If you actually look at the graph, and I will post it underneath all this stuff, essentially it's been gradually rising since about 2009, steadily, and as we were talking about earlier on, it just continued to rise. I mean, there's no cause and effect. Essentially, the fact that it was rising, the stock market is getting better, the world is less shitty than it was when the bankers fucked us over with the fucking housing crash.
You say it's less shitty, but the bankers are making loads of money, so... But
financially, it's less shitty for everyone
else. Financially, it's less shitty. Okay,
for everyone else.
That.
And essentially, 2007 was its biggest high in 2007, and then since 2007, it's always been its biggest high. Like, if you had asked me 10 months ago where it is, I'd be able to tell you it was at its fucking biggest high, because that's how increase works. You know what I mean? Essentially, it's always at its biggest high as long as it's always going up, and that's where it has been.
Yeah.
So there's an article right there that spoke about money that is coming into the US. It spoke about Toyota making investments. It spoke about the Dow Jones rising. But if you then actually look at the facts, money is going into plants, but it's not going to create any other jobs. And the Dow Jones was rising anyway. So
and the 2 trillion is just a fucking made up number.
I believe the 2 trillion is estimated value based on the Dow Jones.
Alright, yeah, so it's the share thing.
Yeah. I will kind of couple up with this 10 billion as well. But I mean, but that has nothing to do with President Trump. I mean, as in, there may be a slight rise in certain, like, fucking Trump Towers and Trump Industries probably are worth a bit more now because it's owned by the fucking president.
It's handy for him, isn't it?
You know, I mean, that works out alright. I bet he doesn't fucking own it by the end of the 4 years though. That gets shifted. But yeah, so what we're doing is we're now getting facts in front of us that are there in articles that, for all intents and purposes, are true. We do have financial input from Toyota. We do have the Dow Jones rising, but they are not related to Trump in any way, shape or form. And even if they are, they're like the things that are happening have happened and Trump is in power and he may have been involved in the conversations.
Here's a bunch of positive things.
Yes.
Here's a mention of Donald Trump. In your head, you're now connecting all of them, even though there's no real connection. But it makes you feel good about the president and it makes us look good. And yeah.
Exactly. And to be honest, see any article right now that is reporting from fucking Bannon's mates at Nazi Central and their storylines, that's falsified news. Even if it's based on facts, it's always going to be on a positive light, because essentially you've got the Minister of Propaganda and his friends are running an alt-right website, and you're using that alt-right website from the Minister of Propaganda's friends to be able to put out information, and that's dangerous. That's so fucking dangerous.
So much worse than, there's fake news which comes from a guy, on meme generator, making a little meme and setting it up on Facebook and spreading it around like wildfire because it sort of promotes his political opinion. There's a big difference between that and state-run propaganda, which has legislation behind it.
Does indeed.
Which is coming directly from the office of the president, which is coming from one of his major advisors who already ran a right-wing news distribution company. It's terrifying times, man.
It is. It's worrying.